Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. I start my eyes a little red. It is because of allergies. This weather out there is crazy on me. Hay fever, but it's not so bad. It's nice to be outside, nice sunny days. It's not summer yet, so it's not too hot, so not too cold. Anyway, but today we have a class on two different things. It's like a historical social studies class. I'm calling it Pythagorean purple because we're covering two subjects instead of just one. But it's historical, but it's also social studies as it relates to the world and kind of how we come to be. So, first one we're going to talk about is something, it's a little complicated, but so the math part I don't expect you to memorize or anything like that because I haven't done this theorem in a long time. I think I could do it if I had to, but like I said. But it starts out with math and then it finishes with the history of the person. So, let's take it away. So we're going to be talking about a Greek philosopher named Pythagoras. Now, Pythagoras, it'll go over when he lived, but a lot of times people don't realize how long ago math was developed. It was developed in BC, so quite a while, because we're living in the 80s. We're in 2000 years AD, so this is more than 2,000 years ago. Probably more like 2,500 years ago, 2,500 years ago, and these are theories that people would come up with. But the Greeks were very good at that. They were very good at math, philosophy, figuring out the world, talking about things. Art was also very big with sculptures, writing. There's all sorts. Now, Pythagoras was a Greek philosopher and mathematician who contributed insights to many schools of thought during his life. One of his most notable accomplishments is his development of the Pythagorean theorem, which creates a relationship between the three sides of a right triangle. So there are several types of triangles. We know triangles just really have three sides. But there's right triangles, there's obtuse, there's all sorts of scalene, I think, is one. But of a right triangle. Specifically, that the square of the hypotenuse, or the longest side of a triangle, is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. So if you take your longest on a triangle, how do you calculate how long that is? Just that third side. By taking the two shorter sides, adding them together, and then you will get the length of that one side, which was, this is written mathematically as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the c squared being that one side, so it would be a squared, short side, b squared, short side. C squared would be those two together, combining, that's how I always thought of it. Is if you take those two short sides and just kind of collapse them, then that's gonna be the size of C, the base of the triangle, of the right triangle. So just remember that. This is for you, for any of you playing Jeopardy, or say, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, which some of us I know watch that show, and like to say that I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. Even though I have a college degree, I would like to see any fifth grader try to... Anyway. Just kidding. Good job, fifth graders. You're rocking awesome. But if you're watching any of those shows, things like that, go ahead and if you hear anything about Pythagoras and any sort of math, remember it's a triangle that is associated. Not a circle, a triangle. Not a square, not a rectangle, but a triangle. So if somebody says Pythagorean's theorem and blah, 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 has to do with what shape? You just remember triangle. A squared plus b squared equals c squared is the Pythagorean theorem. Unfortunately, it's hard to make definitive statements about much of Pythagoras' life because we have no confirmed and authentic pieces of writing from him during his lifetime. Now, this is true, and what I've always been impressed with people like the ancient Greeks, because, like, say Socrates, he never wrote anything down, nothing. So a lot of people are like, well, did he really exist, or was he a character made up? And that's the same as Pythagoras. I mean, he never wrote anything down to be published. Pythagoras was a great teacher. I mean, he probably wrote things not on, maybe on boards, but in places where people could see. But he himself never did. But that's what I'm impressed with it with the ancient Greeks. Instead of somebody being like, well, this guy's got some good ideas, I'm just going to pass them off as my own. No. Like Plato wrote about Socrates. It was Plato's teacher, and he said, okay, well, I'm going to write down and give all the credit to Socrates, which is who the credit is due for. Same with everybody else who knew Pythagoras, gave him his due credit. So it's challenging to distinguish between valid writings from Pythagoras and the works of his followers. Regardless, we can make informed conjectures with the evidence that we do have. So based on the information available to us, Pythagoras was born in 570 BC on Samos, an island near Asia Minor at the time. He was well educated and had 2 or 3 brothers. But as he grew up, he found he did not agree with the government and tyrannical politics of Samos. Samos, I don't know, one of those. Thus, in 532 BC, he escaped to southern Italy and created his own academy for ethics and politics in a Greek colony known as Croton, or Croton. So Pythagoras' academy attracted many followers, which a lot of people did at that time. They'd start up schools. Like Epicurus had a school called the Garden. There's the Lyceum. There's all sorts of different schools. The Republic. Actually, I think that is the Lyceum. But so most of the people who did attend the school had no personal professions. Pythagoras taught his followers everything he knew and implored them to follow a strict set of rules, including remaining vegetarian and swearing by the oath 1 + 2 + 3 + 4. A key aspect of Pythagoras' teachings was the philosophy of metempsychosis, the idea that souls are immortal and enter new bodies after death. So I don't know where he came up with this idea. Maybe it's mathematical even. But that was his. So metempsychosis. So you pass on and your soul goes to a different body. Is it an animal's body? I don't know. So in 510 BC, Pythagoras' group of followers began to have an ideological clash with the supporters of democracy and rule by the people. This conflict of ideas soon turned violent, resulting in the raising of Pythagorean meeting place. Pythagoras may have been killed in one of the blazes, or he may have escaped to Metapontum, a city in Magna Graecia, and died there. So nobody knows, but a lot of times that is kind of, it's the allergies making my eyes. But a lot of people did that during those times when things would be in uproar. They'd either fight and perish and not known, or they would escape the place and then come back, or they escape and then just kind of lay low and just be like, well, I'm not going to pop my head up again because they're after me. So speaking of war, and there is one going on now, we're going to go over something that I think that for me it's a medal that's given in the U.S. military called the Purple Heart. So this is Pythagorean purple. And go from Pythagoras to the Purple Heart. It's a bit of a jump, but I hope you like the history behind both. So now we know some about Pythagoras, how he did, and there was warring people. But now switching to kind of current times, so we've gone from ancient Greece back to where we are now, and honestly I think the entire country of Ukraine deserves a Purple Heart for everything they're doing to hold on to their rights and fight for what's theirs. So stand with Ukraine. So let's go over what the Purple Heart is, though, and who gets that. A lot of people go to war, a lot of people enlist, and they don't get any accolades or things like that. You know, they do their service, and they should. I mean, their accolades should be that they decided to fight for their country and defend the rights that we have every day. To have classes like this, to experience everything we get to experience here in the United States. But then there are some people who really go above and beyond, and that's where this comes from. And like I say, pretty much everyone in Ukraine who stayed behind to fight for their country, I think, deserves this. If we could give out just a big one. But the Purple Heart is an award given to members of the United States Armed Forces that become injured during war, or given to family members of a person that dies valiantly in military conflict at the hands of an enemy. This is a military decoration that is only for those that have seen direct combat. The award is given based on merit, so what you did. Some of the ways merit was defined for receiving the award included being wounded, killed during combat, or dying later as a result of injuries in battle. So if you were in a war and you got shot, you got the Purple Heart, which again is very brave, or to die for your country. Incredibly brave. The Purple Heart has a history that stretches back to the time of the American Revolution. George Washington, who was general in the Continental Army, and not yet President of the United States, so this is before his presidency, probably when we were under the Articles of Confederation, is because before the Constitution, we had the Declaration of Independence, but then before the Constitution was drawn, we basically had presidents under the Articles of Confederation. I think there were even women presidents that served. I think there were also indigenous people of the country that actually served as president under the Articles of Confederation before the Constitution. So this is probably when we're under the Articles of Confederation before George Washington became the first president of the United States. And he wanted to recognize his soldiers, George Washington, for their dedication to fighting for liberty and freedom. The Purple Heart was first called the Badge of Military Merit, and was given to soldiers by Washington starting on April 7, 1782. The names of the men that were given the award were listed in a book of merit that has since been lost. Why? We're so clumsy all the time when it comes to things like this. But, so that's how the Purple Heart originated. And then Washington made it known that the Badge of Military Merit was to become a permanent distinction given by the military for all wars and conflicts to come. So after that, it was like, okay, any war that we have, this merit badge will be given. However, it was forgotten until after World War I in 1918. General John J. Pershing knew that there was a need for an award for merit for men who had fought in World War I. So this is before Nazis or anything. It was a different conflict at the time. He wanted to recognize the soldiers that had lost their lives and limbs in the horrible battles fought in Europe. After many years of asking for an award that reflected the one that George Washington originally put in place, in 1932 the Purple Heart was created. And that's right as World War II was beginning. The Purple Heart Award recognized the ideals that Washington found to be the criteria for just such an award. For the first time since the Revolutionary War, veterans were given their Purple Heart at Temple Hill in New Windsor, New York in 1933. This place was significant to Americans because Temple Hill was the final encampment for soldiers during the Revolutionary War. When handing out the award, organizers for the event wanted this setting to show that America had come a long way since its birth or its beginning. The criteria for receiving the Purple Heart has changed since Washington first gave the award for merit. In the beginning, the award was only given to soldiers in the Army and the Army Air Corps, and could not be given to a soldier that had already died. In 1942, President FDR signed an executive order that allowed for members of the Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard to also receive the Purple Heart. Good job, FDR, because that is the way it should be. like I said, stand with Ukraine. I believe that so many people are being injured. There's so many people, even reporters over there right now, that are really sacrificing a lot to really help the people of Ukraine. So that has been our historical social studies class for today. The Pythagorean theorem, Pythagorean purple. And yeah, so if you have any questions, any suggestions, I got a suggestion from somebody that I'm going to be doing another class on next week, but I do want to hear from you all. I did a class not too long ago with somebody else, so any suggestions you have, I would love to do a class on. All right, y'all. Have a fantastic rest of your day. All right.